So it's good to have you in our kitchen. This is we worked really hard to get this all set up so it would look like this. I want to ask you your names first, and maybe Clementine, I'll start with you. What is your full name? And
before I was married, or
yeah, before you were married, and then your married name and who you married.
Yeah, Clementine Longworth. That was my dad's name, Flamand. Yeah.
And
then after, when I was married, it was George Henry. It was Henry, my last name.
And where were you born?
I was born in Crude Lake, about 12 miles south of Grayson. That's where I was born.
And your parents, who were they?
Huh?
Your parents, what were your parents' name?
My daddy's name was Alexandre Flamand, and my mother was Adele Hillary.
Hillary.
Before she was married, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And your grandparents, do you remember your grandparents' name?
No, they were gone before I was born.
Yeah. Both sets of them?
Both sides, yeah.
Yeah. And how old were you when you left there? Or did you grow up in Crooked Lake, did you say?
Well, we left the Crooked Lake. I'll say about 10 years old when we left for good. We moved to Yorkton there. That's how we were raised, all of them. Yeah.
And where did you go to school?
I never went to school a day in my life.
And your husband, where did you meet him? Where did you meet your husband?
In Yorkton, met him, yeah.
And you're Michif?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that your language when you were growing up?
Oh, yeah, that's where we talk, yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly Cree and French. We talk a lot of French, so my dad used to talk most of French. Yeah.
And what is your name? I should get your full name.
Jeanne Pelletier. Jeanne Pelletier.
And where were you born?
I was born in Crooked Lake, 12 miles south of Grayson, same place she comes from.
And your parents?
Roger and Seraphine Desjardins. And my dad's dead. My mom's still living. She's 92 years old.
Oh my.
Yes.
And what was her maiden name?
LaValle.
LaValle.
Mm-hmm.
From where?
From Crooked Lake.
From Crooked Lake.
Yeah.
Too. And did you grow up in Crooked Lake?
Yes, that's where I was born, and that's where I was there till I was 15 years old, and I left.
And who were your grandparents?
My grandparents was Jimmy Desjardins and Therese Pelletier.
And then on the other side? That's your dad's side.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other side was Napoleon LaValle, and I can't remember my grandmother's name. She died before I was born, but she was a Sparvey.
I know some Sparvies there, but I can't think of their name right now.
Yeah, I just can't think of her name. And we were talking about it not too long ago. Like, we always talk about them.
Yeah. Crooked Lake, was that a big community?
Yeah, it was like a little Michif colony. There was like a mission, a boarding school, and we lived on the outside of the river, us. We were the outsiders.
Yeah. So it was like a reserve?
Yeah, a bunch of reserves like that. All around us there's reserves, and on this side was white people, and us in between it.
Was it Road Allowance?
Yeah,
It
Road
was
Allowance.
Road
I'm a
Allowance,
Road Allowance woman.
Oh, you too.
Yeah. Born in a Road Allowance, raised in a Road Allowance.
What was it like there when you were young? I'll start with you.
We didn't know any different, whatever we get every day, that's how we done, not going to do nothing, Mind you, we had a good life, my parents were nice,
So what was it, we'll start back again, what was it like growing up there? Was there a lot of people that were living in the community?
Oh yeah, there were a lot of people that living there, I would say every half a mile there was somebody lived there.
Yeah.
Across like this,
Did people live, like in your family, was it just your dad, or did your grandmother and all of your aunties and
no.
uncles live close together?
Before I was born, my grandpa, my grandfather, they were gone, so I didn't know them at all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, we had our own place.
And what about your uncles? They just lived further away, your aunties?
Well, my cousin there lived not too far from there.
Oh.
Yeah, and so's my uncle. Yeah, my dad's brother.
And what year were you born?
1922.
1922?
I was born, yes.
So it would have been
March
very...
the 25th.
Yeah. It would have been the road, you wouldn't have had hardly any roads out there even.
That's
nothing,
right,
yeah?
this is true, yeah.
So how did you get around?
Well, mostly with the wagon and horses, you know, that's how they go shopping in Grayson or Melville. Wasn't too bad for Melville too, you know.
Just getting a wagon and...
Yeah, that's right. I had nothing else.
Yeah. How many brothers and sisters did you
I had
have?
6 brothers and 6 sisters. We're 12 of us.
Oh, big family.
Yeah.
So, do you remember how many families lived in Crooked Lake when you were growing up?
Oh boy, there were lots. There was quite a few families. Oh, well, mostly all the Metis, they lived there, didn't live in our place. Most of all of them, they were there. Like my uncles and aunties, they were all used to live all there.
Yeah.
My dad's side and my mom's side, you know. Quite a few.
You had to work hard?
Yeah, we had to work hard to make our living with no education.
Yeah. Did you have a kind of a farm? Did you have animals and?
No, just like that. No. Well, we had horses like that, you know. If you had a cattle, that was all.
What kinds of things did your family do for a living?
Well, most of that, they was always working. And, yeah.
What kind of work did they do?
Well, they used to work in summertime with the farmers, you know, all kind of work like that, you know. In fall, they used to trashing, you know, helping trashing, like that.
Yeah. And what about your brothers and I mean yourself, your sisters? Did you work around the community?
No,
or?
I never went there till I was married. When I was 90, always work in the house, doing washing for the boys and, you know, ironing the clothes, and that was my job.
Yeah. I don't suppose you had a washing machine. Huh?
We didn't have no washing machine them days. I'd do everything the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Jean? What year were you born?
1940.
1940.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, the same age as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what was it like in Crooked Lake when you were growing up?
Well, when asked that question, I always say I wouldn't trade it off for today. Like with me, we used to live in a road allowance, and my dad worked for farmers too, like one farmer. And then after that, we moved to a beach, like an old beach. So we looked after that, my parents looked after that place till I was about 11 years old, but we had no...
You mean by the lake?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right by the lake. We used to swim, and they used to cut ice in the winter and store it. And in the summertime, we sold ice and fish and minnows. We still hunt minnows, catch minnows.
Who'd you sell them to?
It was sold, like it was property from people that lived in the States. So they sold out to people who lived in Melville. So when those people bought it, we were there for about a year after, like after the new owners come. And then we left. We moved to the village where all the Michifs lived, the Métis people. We moved there, and like I was 7 years old when I started school. So.
Was the school in the Métis community, or did you go to school?
No, we had to
someplace
go
else?
across the river to a little school we used to call Bannock School. It was a little cement building.
Why did they call it Bannock School?
Because that's what they said we ate. We were Bannock eaters. They called it Bannock School, but I don't know its real name. That's all I know it by was Bannock School.
Was it a big school?
No, it was just a little one-room house. Little one-room house that was by there's the little creek. It was by there by itself. I guess, well, after we got our school, some people used to live in it. But that school, for us, it was haunted. sometimes when we were sitting quiet, we used to hear somebody walking upstairs. And the sister would make us kneel down and we'd have to pray. So that sister that time was that, do you remember, you heard her in the news, that Mother Teresa? She was the nun then. That was my first nun.
Mother Teresa?
Yeah.
You mean the one that went to India?
Yeah, that old lady that was in India.
She was in Crooked Lake?
Yeah, she was down in the school teachers.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know how long she was in Crooked Lake, but when I started school, she was the one, and then I didn't have her too long. She left.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
She left for Africa. Then she came back about a year, and she was talking to the older boys that knew her well, because I didn't know her that well. I was just...
But she was your teacher?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was she a good teacher?
I guess she must have been. I don't know. I wasn't.
It would be hard to say she wasn't.
I didn't have her long enough.
So famous.
Yeah. She must have been a good teacher because she got along well with the boys. Like, you know, anybody she got along well with in school. But the other teacher we had, well, she was good, but she was mean. Because my mom made me wear some little short dresses. I was fat, and they were above my knees. And she gave me a strapping and told me, I tell my mom to put longer dresses on me. I'm not supposed to show my legs. So I went home and I told my mom, I'm not going to school. And I told her why. She slapped me with a little strap across my legs because my dress is too short. So I didn't like that nun. And about...
Is this Mother Teresa?
No.
Oh, no, the other one.
This one is Sister St. Javi. That was her name. And this nun, me and my friend were playing on a teeter-totter. Like, there was 3 of us that used to hang out together. Me, Margaret Leas, and Germaine Gregor. We used to go on a teeter-totter. And she came and she told us that she'd sit on one side and 3 of us would sit on one side and then we can go on a teeter-totter. And then I looked at her and I don't know, I just didn't want to, after I went up and come back down, I just didn't want to sit on a teeter-totter with her, so I got off. When I got off, she come flying down here. Just like today, I just laugh about it because it's just like those gray hens. She's just tumbling off the teeter-totter. I never got help for that.
When did they build that school? Did they build it?
They built a new school for the Métis kids in the early 50s.
That's that's Bannock School.
No.
Oh,
no,
but Bannock School. What year did they build that?
Oh heck, it was there when you were there,
yeah,
eh?
I don't even remember. Long time ago.
So it was there when you were there already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How come you didn't go to it? They didn't. That girls.
It wasn't the school then. People were living in that house.
Oh, it was a house.
That's right, the people that were living there.
It was a house from the mission, like the
Okay.
priests. It was in that land.
So there was a big mission there.
Yeah, there was
it was a big machine, yeah.
there was a priest house and
They were
barns and places for people to live like their staff, and a great big boarding school. We didn't go to the boarding school.
It was like an Indian boarding school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I think my mom used to go to school there when she was young.
Did the Métis people work at the boarding school?
No.
So it was across the creek then, or across the river from you?
From us.
And when you started school there, when did they open that house up for Métis people to go to school there?
Oh, I was in
How old were you when they...
grade 3.
But where did you go to school before?
We used to go to school at that little Bannock school, that little building. And then after that, when I went to grade 2 or 3, we went across the river. They built a school for us.
Oh, okay.
And they were giving all the Métis people houses to live in.
Who's they?
The government.
The government?
Yeah. They said they had signed a deal, a 100-year deal. And now today it's not even 100 years.
So was
They're
that
all
like...
gone.
Was that like a Métis farm?
Yeah. Yeah. When they were putting up those Métis farms, they started putting buildings. But the first thing that was put up was the school.
Okay. So what kind of music they play? They had fiddle and what else?
Oh yeah, the guitar and the music and the violin. They were good, very good.
Who were the famous fiddle players when you were young?
My dad played the violin lots, yeah. And my brother John too. Remember my brother John, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's lots of good old Michif fiddle players. Oh, the other old Pelletier bunch too played the fiddle.
Yeah.
Old Alfred Pelletier played the fiddle, and old Charlie Pelletier played the fiddle. And there's an old guy that used to stay at my uncle's place, Bill Gaddy. He used to play the fiddle.
Oh boy, that's the one who used to play the violin. But he got it. Oh boy, was a good player.
When we were living at the lake, his dad, if you bear with, used to come and live there in a tent, and us we lived in a house like that, from here, just little wee ways away, and we used to go and visit that old man, and he used to give us this mint candy, and he used to tell us all kind of stories, and he always played cards. And his son, Bill, he used to tell us stories too. He said he became a good fiddle player from, he was a hobo, he said. He used to ride the freight, and that's where he learned to play the fiddle, he said. So I don't know where he really learned, but that's what he told us, so we accepted it. Like, I was only about 8 years old. But he was a good fiddle player. He was still around when we grew up to be teenagers, and he used to live at my uncle's. And my sister and her cousin, they wanted to dance. He was playing fiddle, and they were dancing together. They were home alone with him together, so he made himself a tea, and he was going to have a smoke. And then they told him, "Come on, Mushroom, come and play some more." I'd sooner smoke, he tells them. They always used to laugh about that. They never heard him talk much English, eh? But he told these two young girls, "I'd sooner smoke." That's the last I heard of old Bill. Next thing I knew, he was dead.
Were there any women who played fiddle or guitars when you were young, Clementine?
No, I don't ever see no woman to play a violin or the guitar. No, they're not. Well, women they're not allowed to play the violin. That's the,
How come?
Well, them days, you know, after the change, but before that, one my time, they wouldn't let to play the violin.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. That was their rule. Whatever they say, you have to do it. So.
Yeah.
Pretty strict, eh?
Yeah, it was strict.
Did they ever, nobody ever said why? They didn't tell any stories about
No, they never
why?
questioned anything, no.
They only told us we'd get big boobs.
If you played
If we played the fiddle. We didn't want to play the fiddle.
That's true.
You mean nobody wanted big boobs?
No, nobody wanted big boobs. They said just like a cow. Well, you don't want to look like a big cow. So nobody played the fiddle, and I had all the opportunity to learn how to play the fiddle. My brother played the fiddle, and like they was
The same thing with me. My 6 brothers played the violin, all of them the guitar.
But we couldn't play.
Never touched that guitar or the violin, never. We're not supposed to touch that thing.
So what did the girls do then?
Just work, clean up and wash and iron the clothes. So the girls done their work.
So you never did any kind of anything for that was fun for you other than dancing?
That's all that you got to jump. We had fun to dancing, nothing else. Work and dance, that was all we had to go. And we didn't know any different because that was our life, you know. Whatever it is, we do it, that's all.
You never tried to...
We didn't know any better. As long as we... Yeah, it's a little different.
Did you do any needlework, like embroidery or
Oh, yeah, we
beading
done
and
that
stuff
lots.
like
Yeah,
that?
we had to do it. We had to make the clothes for the kids and ourselves, you know. Oh, yeah, we done a lot of that stuff.
So what did you do to have fun then besides dancing?
I do nothing. Play outside with the kids. That was the good time we had.
And when you got older?
Nothing. No, there was no good time for us.
Must have been hard for women.
We didn't know any different, because we never had anything like that, so it didn't.
You didn't miss it?
It didn't miss nothing, yeah.
What did you do?
Well,
besides work and dance?
We fooled around. We hadn't.
So it wasn't quite as strict when you
No,
were...
no, not me. Not for us. Well, for me anyway. We did the chores and stuff like that as we were told, and we always made a game of it. My brother would make us haul in his wood, and he said, "You go and sell this wood." So we'd haul it to the house where we were going, and he did the same thing with the ice, like we'd haul the pails of ice for drinking water. But for playing, we used to go sliding. We were able to go sliding on a hill, and we used to go and watch my uncle making tops, great big tops. And at night, the older men, they used to make these tops fight, just like a boxing match. When one got knocked out, he was out of the game. And then again, the other one would go until the last one was the winner.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, that's big wooden tops. Uncle Ernest used to make those tops all the time. And I asked him, about 3 years ago before he passed, that if he remembered how to make a top.
Do you remember how many they used?
One for each player. And there'd be two, and then they'd clear up this ice hatch, and then that's where they'd start.
Oh, they do it outside?
Yeah, it was an outdoor game at night in the moonlight.
On the ice?
Yeah, on the ice. It was an outdoor game on the ice. They used to whip these tops, and you can just hear them humming.
What did they whip them with?
A little whip, like a little horse whip.
And that thing will dance.
Yep.
Whip them and whip them, and that thing will go and round, 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 fast.
Yeah, and then just like they'd guide them to see whose top will get knocked out or whose top will break in half.
Yeah.
That was their game. I used to go and watch my uncle and my dad used to play that game. And there was other guys, but
Did they bet money on them?
I don't know. I just watched them.
What was it called?
Oh.
Was there a Michif name for that game?
I can't remember.
I don't remember how they called them.
And I know they were tops made out of wood, but I can't remember hearing them say it in Michif what kind of a game it was.
But they were good. Whip them, that thing will go around and around fast.
They used to say, "Akwal kamitu inan."
Akwal tak kametan.
Yeah, wrestling, I guess. I don't know.
What akwal tak?
Yeah, akwal tak. Well, akwal tak. Kamitu tak. We'll play wrestling. That's what I thought it was. So I just used to go and sit. I was about 8 years old, and I used to go and sit there and watch my dad playing this game with Uncle Ernest and Uncle Gorling, and they used to play this game.
And it was always at night?
Yeah.
We'll have to ask about that some
Yeah.
more. That was their good game.
When I go home, when I go home, I'll have to.
I bet you they don't even play that game now, eh?
Well, 3 years ago, when I asked my uncle, like Uncle Ernest,
Yeah.
I know he was one of them that made those things, and I asked him, and he just looked at me and started to laugh. He didn't say whether he could build them. His dad was a very good
His dad was good,
builder.
yeah.
He built chairs and tables and stuff like that.
I've never seen the big ones like that.
They were big.
But my grandpa used to make them out of spools of thread,
Yeah,
you know, them
yeah.
spools?
That's right.
And then we'd sit like this at night, and but was kids, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd play them, but I never saw the big ones.
Oh, they used to do that in the ice.
Yeah, these ones were a nice
Nice.
outdoor game. That was the adult sport I used to go and watch. And after that, they had sailing with boats and a big sheet.
In the summertime?
No, in the wintertime. In a windy, it had to be windy. and you'd see them going across the lake. We lived right where there's a nice lake, and all around like this, there was houses, eh? And we lived here, and right across this way they'd go, and then they'd come back with a little sled with made like a sailboat.
Oh, so they used a little sleigh?
Yeah, a little
sled?
sled sitting it, and the wind would carry them.
Did they go a long way and
Oh
pretty
yeah,
fast?
they went pretty fast. That's when the ice first starts freezing after it's frozen quite a bit and there's no snow.
In the fall?
Yeah, more or less that's when they would go. It was really nice, like, that's why I say...
And was it, did they have races like that, or did they just go visiting?
They just played.
Oh.
Just for sports. See who would go the farthest or who would have the best sailing sled.
You see the young people, all the young people, they'd be in the lake and play with that thing.
Everybody took turns riding.
Yeah.
Who would go the farthest or who would go the fastest.
Yeah.
Everybody took
Had
turns.
a good time.
Yeah, and sometimes when they would be going to the store or something, they'd take their sled and their sail and just go fast. That was a fast way of traveling.
Then you'd have to wait for the wind to come back.
No,
I guess,
they'd walk home they'd drag their sled home with their groceries or whatever they had. But if the wind turned, I guess they would. My grandma was a medicine woman.
Yeah.
She was, what do you call those people that...
Your mom too, he was good for medicine.
Must have learned it from my grandma, or I don't know. What do you call those women that deliver babies?
Midwife?
A midwife.
Oh boy, was good there.
She was that
He
kind
used
of...
to get called all over. You had to go there and go and deliver a baby boy.
Did she deliver lots of babies? Did she ever know how many she delivered?
I don't know how many she delivered, but she delivered lots. She said over 100.
She was just like a doctor.
Just like mostly all the people, like all the Michif people that lived around there,
Yeah.
all of them were, all the kids say my age were, and older, she delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she knew all kinds of medicines to
Yeah,
go
she
pick
did.
too.
Yeah, she picked up roots. She used to make us pick up some of these. They're just like from the thistles. You know, they have some kind of like a nice furry inside. She used to make us pick up those kind for her too. And we used to make whistles out of the moss. But she took the inside. I don't know what she used it for. Never did ask her. She told us it was none of our business. Eh? And what else did she make us do? She made us pick up something from the river. Can't remember. And she fed us the duck's insides, the guts. She roasted them. She showed us how to do that. And she showed us how to make soap, lye soap.
Do you remember how to make it?
No.
Do you remember how to make it, Clementine?
What's that?
Lye soap.
Oh yeah, I remember the...
Lapatas.
Yeah, we used to make that stuff so much by... You get some tubs, you know, about half. Then after when you finish, you cut them like how big you want. Was good for washing.
Yeah. Do you remember how they made
With
them?
ashes. With ashes
ashes?
and grease.
Yeah,
Grease and ashes.
Yeah.
all that stuff, yeah. Hard grease, eh?
Yeah, hard grease.
It had to be hard grease.
And it'd boil and then they'd pour
Boil
the
it
ashes in.
and...
It's just like a Javik soap.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were smart, eh?
But
How to do things, eh?
everybody washed by hand. I remember washing by hand.
Boy, I used to have scabs here. Wash it.
From scrubbing clothes.
Yeah, scrub and scrub. Oh, boy.
We used to wash right by the river too.
Yeah.
Just put your tubs outside.
Mm-hmm.
Now today, nothing.
Push a
Just
button.
push a button today. It's a shame.
Nobody gets scabs in their hands.
Yeah.
Just
very
like
different.
crawling on a floor, doing the floors, eh?
Yeah.
Did you ever go picking Seneca root or any
Oh,
of
yeah.
those
Oh,
things?
yeah. That's how we met.
That's
Make
part
our
of the
money.
living,
Yeah.
selling Seneca root.
Boy, that was a lot of work. Oh, boy. Wash them and put them and dry them and put them in the bag. Oh, my God.
Where did you go picking?
in the prairie where there, you know, there's some places you could find them where to dig them. They're not all over, but some places you find them where to dig them. Some big ones, small ones, and all kind of sizes.
They must be big now, you know, and if there's patches left, because hardly anybody does that anymore
Yeah.
that I know of.
A couple of years ago, I was in Winnipeg, and there was an old lady came in. She had 5 bags of them, big bags like that. She'd been out all picking all summer, digging
They're
them up.
still selling. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't.
selling
I
them,
could have
yeah.
went to Manitoba and dug.
Yeah,
They're little. I know they're little white flowers.
yeah.
Probably pick up all kind of flowers.
boy, they used to dig a lot of pea. Oh my God.
And they're not very big.
No,
Yeah.
no, they're not. Did you go out in the morning and come back at night, or you went out?
You go out at dinner time. Then after dinner, you have your lunch. You go back again. Yeah. Till you fill your bag. Then you come back and wash it.
How much did you used to get paid for that?
Boy, I forget how much we didn't get very much. I forget how much. Very much, you know, but there was a lot of work.
And once it was dry, it was lighter too.
Oh yeah, that was
So you had
lighter.
to pick
Yeah,
some more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of different today.
I wanted to ask you some things about your mothers and your, you know, like the women, because today, you know, we, like you say, you push a button and everything is done. And you were saying earlier that, you know, you never did things to have fun. You were working all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
There were, you know, most young women and our people, we hear all kinds of stories that the old men tell all the time about men, but we have no stories about women. You know, nothing that tells us the kind about women's work
Oh yeah.
or anything. Can you think of any stories you can tell us about your mom or your aunties and the kind of work that they did? Like, do you have aunties that did really nice needlework, or, you know, maybe somebody that tanned good hides, or they were the best dancer, or
Yeah.
just some stories? Can you remember anything
I
like
remember
that?
my mom. They used to fix the hides, like, you know, buy all the dry it and grass all day, and we were so busy to help them. They not tell us what to do. We try our help to help them. That was a lot of work. They had to stretch it really hard. Then they dried, then they scrape like that all day. Oh boy, that was a lot of work.
Did you have to do that?
Oh yeah, and then the next day they had to soak that thing for about 3 days. And they said that, boy, that was a lot of work. But they done it. Then they smoke it after when it's dry. Then when it's soft, they go make a fire outside. They smoke it to go brown, and also it work like that. Make moccasins of those, you know, or jackets.
And that's what you wore in your feet?
Oh
was
yeah, that's what
moccasins.
they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were warm because there's nothing else you had, just the moccasins, you know. And jackets, that's how they used to make jackets. They were strong too. They lasted a long time. A lot of work.
So that was how you learned. They
Yeah,
just
that's how
called
you
you to
learn,
help
yeah.
them. Yeah. Did you ever help any of the women that were midwives, or any of that kind of stuff, picking medicine? Did anybody ever show you how to do that? Did you help them with that?
What's that?
To pick medicine or to help deliver
Oh,
babies?
no,
or
I never
anything?
did that.
No,
I never did that, no.
Were there any women that were famous in when you were
Oh,
young?
yeah, there were lots. They were good artists, yeah. One of my sisters, that's where used to be the nurse. But when the baby they're born, they'll come get her, you know. You know Mary, my sister. Yeah. She used to be good with that. Yeah, twins. But
Did you have to wear long skirts? Did they make you wear long
no,
skirts?
just dresses, you know, cotton dresses, long though, you know.
They were long, eh?
There were no pants, I tell you.
You weren't allowed to wear pants?
Oh, no, you had to wear a dress.
How come?
Well, I guess that was the style. I don't know whatever, but
So if you went riding horseback, you wore a dress?
Oh yeah, you had to wear a dress. Yeah,
Side saddle, probably.
yeah, that's right.
And did you have to have your hair covered up too?
Oh yeah, and this no, you do not have you.
You didn't have to wear a scarf or a
No, you
hat?
didn't have to wear a scarf. You want to go without, you go without. If you want to wear a scarf, you wear a scarf. You know. Yeah. We used to knit, make gloves or mitts. You know, we used to knit lots of that stuff. Yeah, you had to learn the hard way, everything, no matter what. You had to learn how to do.
And what about you? Do you remember any, I don't know, was there
Just-
any women that were rebellious that just said they weren't going to work that hard, or who were going to do men's work instead, or?
Well, most of the women that had to stay home did men's work. Like my dad died at an early age, so my mom had to fend for us, and we all helped. It was a work of cooperation that kept the family going. Everybody had certain chores to do, and
To do your share.
yeah, you all pulled in, and we did lots of card playing too. I remember after my dad died, I used to go up to my auntie's. She was Auntie Jeanne. She was
Oh,
married
yeah.
to George Flamand.
Yeah.
I used to go up there and go and gamble, just on cards. We used to play Doc Gui. That's an Indian poker. We used to play that game. And sometimes I'd come home with a dozen eggs or $3, and that was lots of money in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd play cards till past midnight. We'd have a lunch at midnight, and after midnight, if we were not tired, we'd play again. Next morning, we were up early again to
And
do
you
the
had to
chores.
go to church, don't matter all night, you have to go to church.
What happened if you didn't go to church?
You get sent from your people, you know.
Your
you want to
parents.
stay all night, you go to church. You had to go to church.
Come home from a dance late. We had to be ready in the morning to go to church.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it took maybe an hour or 2 hours to come home from the dance, 3 o'clock in the morning, get home 5 o'clock. We had to be up by 8 to get ready to go to church. If we
You
didn't,
had to get ready.
if we didn't go to church, we wouldn't be allowed to go again to the dance.
Yes.
Did you know of anybody who didn't go to church?
There were some people back home that
Yeah.
didn't go to church, and when they
Yeah.
died, they were buried on the outside of the cemetery.
Yeah. They buried, but I didn't go to church.
Yeah. And if you were bad and lived with somebody, you got barred from the church. You had to be married.
When did that start to change?
Oh, it must have started to change in the 50s.
Yeah. But the 50s, yeah.
50s.
Boy, they were strict, huh? Everything you had to do 100%. It doesn't matter what you do.
Didn't sound like a very good time to.
But you know, we didn't notice. You know, we thought that was the right way, so we didn't mind.
Like for me, I'm not sorry we had to work like that, you know. But we had fun while we were doing it. We always had fun, whether we were working hard or not. When we picked berries, we used to be laughing and.
Did you ever hear any stories about women from long ago, like during Riel's time? Ever hear stories like that, history stories about women?
My grandma was telling us, like, we had a school project to do. I was in grade 5, and we had to write this history. So I went and asked my grandma if she'd help me. You know anything about Louis Riel? Yeah, she said. I remember. She said I was a little girl, but I remember. And she told us they were coming home from. There was a war between the Crees and another tribe.
Sioux, the Lakota?
Yeah. And they were caught in the middle. So she said her dad was a medicine man. So she said he he told him to go and hide, like to keep on. He'd stay at the back for a little while. He said he didn't say why, but I guess he created diversion with smoke.
Ah, I heard that.
And he all passed through, and after that he came back to where his family were, and they were in a cave for 3 days. 3 days, and the only water they had was the pea water. And she said we were there for 3 days. Then finally they made it to the east. Like she was from the East Reserve. She's from the Cree Reserve, she said. And she said Louis Riel was not a bad man. And she said if it wasn't for a priest, we'd be okay. She said it was a priest that betrayed him.
Which is true, yeah.
Yeah, and I had that book, for the longest time, all what she told me, and I had it for the longest time till I was about 15, and then I lost it. I always tell my mom, "Gee, I'm sorry I lost that book," But she said she was about 8 years old.
Did she tell you who that your grandfather was? Like was the medicine man?
I have his name at home, but I can't say it.
Because I heard that story too. I was interviewing an old lady around Onion Lake, and she told me that, but she didn't know who it was. She just said this man made all of this smoke, and they were able to go through the smoke.
Yeah.
And he did it. He didn't make a fire. He did it with medicine.
Magic.
Yeah.
Medicine.
Magic.
So her dad was a big medicine man, I guess. I guess that's where she got the trade passed down, medicine.
She learned it from him.
Yeah. To hear my grandpa. I had this one grandpa, he always used to come and grab me. They used to call him Chibas.
Chibas.
Yeah, they used to call him that. And then he'd take me to dance. So I'd get up and go. Dance with him. He'd be pushing me this way and that way. He was just like, I used to think he was really bossy, and I didn't like dancing with him because he pushed me around. So finally, when this one woman would come in, boy, I'd be chucked to the corner, and that was the end of my dancing with him. He danced with that other woman. But that's how I learned.
Who taught you how to dance, Clementine?
Well, that's exactly what is it, somebody will come take you in a dances. We couldn't dance, but they teach you how,
Because we had an old uncle at home, kind of like that. He was a bachelor.
Yeah.
Oh, but he was such a good dancer, and that's how I learned to waltz the first time. All of the dances I learned to do with him.
Listen to music, they always say.
Yeah, he was a really good dancer.
That was part of our entertainment when we were home, is to learn how to dance. My mom used to whistle for us, and we used to dance. Like my brother danced jig real well, and my sister.
My grandpa used to play fiddle in the kitchen.
Oh.
And he'd make us jig, and he'd throw penny out to whoever was the best dancer. And we'd just be stepping like mad in the kitchen floor. We were just little kids learning how to jig for that money.
Yeah.
Her sisters were good dancers too. I guess they learned the same way.
What was your favorite dance, Clementine?
Square dance I used to love,
Did you guys step dance when you did square dance?
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy, the music one is good, you could do it.
Yeah. What was your favorite dance?
All dances.
Yeah.
Anything. I like music. I like songs. I like music. Any kind. Indian songs, Michif songs. Anything that had to do with music. That was my...
Yeah. Do you play any musical instrument at all?
I play guitar.
You play guitar?
Piano. A little bit of each. I never played the fiddle though.
I
tried to play mandolin, but my sister's got it just now. So when she brings it back home, I'll try again.
So you were born way long time after her. They let women play guitar by the time you got older.
I didn't play guitar till I was, in my 20s.
Ah, so you couldn't play it at home, yeah.
I used to listen to them, and all I have to do is watch them, and then I can pick it off. I'm very good at taking somebody's
Music,
music
fingers, yeah.
fingers.
Mm.
And I used to do that
Where did you learn to play piano?
in school.
Ah,
In school. I just took the first year and I left it alone. Because you had to run up and down scales so many times before you got into the good.
you just learned to play.
Yeah, so I just learned to play after that, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, you taught dancing for years and years too,
Mhm.
didn't you? Teaching kids how to dance. When
Mhm.
did you start doing that?
In the early 80s. I was the first woman to call for the square dance, to come out in the open to call for square dances. And that was just out of force because the man I used to work with didn't want to teach the kids. So I took over, and I took over the calling too. And I just remembered, and I did research on it, and I went and visited older people like that I knew that danced, that were from back home. And I'd ask them and have tea with them, and they'd tell me. And then I started putting the dances all together, the stories all together. And I like working with kids.
Mm-hmm.
I always have now. And that's what inspired me to do. And it all started out as a hobby. Like, you know, I just went to this dance, and then I asked this guy from back home, let's do square dancing like we did at home. Okay, he said, who do we all know that know how? So I started thinking of the people that lived in Regina that
Mm-hmm.
came from the place we did, and we had enough. And that's how we started. And then after that, I was hosting the different dance from the different reserves.
So, yeah, because I've never heard of women callers.
No.
There's,
And that's another
because that's
learning.
almost lost now too.
Yeah, that's what I plan to do, is teach that too. Because when I did it for education, I had to change quite a bit of the wording. I want the wording to be as I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And half of it is in Michif and half of it is in French.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So have you ever done any recordings of that, of
Nope.
calling?
No.
That would be really neat.
Mm-hmm. I've never, like I have all the calls written up at home, but I never did try any recording.
Mm-hmm.
Of it. I didn't have the time. Now I have the time. Since I got sick, now I have the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be right in the mood for it. You have to, like, you have to really like it.
Mm-hmm. So how old were you when you started to call, when you decided to do that?
Oh, no. I used to mimic my grandparents long ago but it never dawned on me. I was just young, eh?
Yeah.
But when I first started was in the early 80s.
Oh, not that long ago?
No.
Yeah. Why did you decide to do it?
Well, I had a group of children, and we were teaching them how to do the traditional Métis dancing, like how we did it from back home.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy I was working with didn't want the children. He didn't have his interest. They drive him crazy. So I told him, I'll take the children and you can have the adults. So we split up the group, and I took the children. And he didn't know I knew how to call. So I told him, well, if I can sing, I could call. So I did it.
So did you find somebody that knew how to show you to learn all of, because that's a lot of...
I remember all those
Oh, you remembered them? Oh,
all
okay.
those ones I heard from way back. I remembered them, but I had to translate them a little bit different, so I couldn't remember the exact words they said. Or sometimes they said a word that was kind of a swear word, and I didn't want to say it like that, so I changed the word. I didn't try to change very much, though. But then now it's all in English. I'd have to do it on a tape if I had to do it in...
Michif?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just don't know Michif right off? Like to call in Michif, you don't know how to do it?
No.
Right offhand?
No, right
yeah.
offhand.
You'd have to practice it, yeah.
Yeah, there was just one call that was very easy that I did while I was instructing the GDI students.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they were just looked at me wondering what I was saying. So I had to translate it back to them.
Yeah. Now, what happened the first time that the older people heard you calling? Did they say anything? Did they remark on it?
Oh yeah, it was a very hard struggle because there was only a few men that were, well, a couple that I heard that were calling. There was one I remember in Batoche, and the man I was working with was a caller too. And I knew there was quite a few, so when I started visiting my older relatives and told them what I wanted to do, they started helping me. Like they used to dance and call, but they're all dead now.
But nobody gave you a hard time because you were a woman doing it, eh?
Oh yeah, a lot
they
of them.
did?
They said that it's not a job for a woman. A man's supposed to be doing that. But if the man didn't want you to do it, well, why not? Things changed. So that's what I used to tell them. We have to do what we have to do if we want to keep our tradition alive. So that's basically the reason I learned all of it, and I wanted to keep this tradition, because when I came back home, like to Saskatchewan after living in BC, I couldn't find any Michif dancing. And I asked my brother, doesn't anybody? They try once in a while, but it always peters out. So I told him, well, I'm going to try. I'll get people together. So I got this guy that was able to call. He was still living, and he was able to dance. So we got together and we started the adult group. And then we worked into the children. I told him I wanted the children. And because I knew he couldn't stand them. He said they don't want to listen, and he didn't have the patience to work with children. So I worked with the children, and the children I bought to Batoche were one of the first Michif bunch of children. I bought some 7-year-olds to dance in Batoche in the early 80s, and that's when we were on a go. And I knew it would be alive because I was working on a curriculum to put it into the school so different people would know. It was
when you did the curriculum, you did that with Gabriel Dumont Institute, eh?
No, I did it with one of the schools.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and I had I worked with the teachers, and there in the calls they took out a lot of the Michif stuff because it wasn't appropriate for the children to hear or to learn. But I told them, if you take out any more, we may as well not do it.
And do they still teach it?
Oh yeah, it's in the schools all through Saskatchewan. I did workshops in Saskatoon and in Regina with the teachers to get a handle on the book itself and the dances. Yeah, and they teach it in school, and the kids like dancing. Even these that are these students that don't learn well, like the schoolwork, they don't pick it up quick enough, or they take a long time. Those are the best dancers. They can pick up sewing, they can pick up embroidering, they can pick up dancing better than they could pick up in their arithmetic or their science or their social, because I had an after-school club, and that's what I taught them, how to embroider, and we did a great big quilt with all their rooms, all the different rooms in the class, in the school. We embroidered every name, and we put it together, and it's hanging at the school.
Yeah, which school is that?
Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart.
Yeah.